It's crisis. That's opportunity. That's our opportunity. We have to, listen to the zillions of different ideas. There is no bad idea.
Hello, and you're with Aveline Clark on the Six Star Business Podcast, where we have conversations about what it takes to be six star as a six-star leader in a six-star business in a six-star world. And in this episode, my co-host is Corey Sebest from Germany, and we sat down with Benjamin Burg from Poland. What a fascinating man he is. His whole life has given him these unique and colourful experiences where he's really been able to tap into his love of learning and education, connection, not only to people but to the earth and our evolution. He's constantly learning, constantly evolving, and finding ways to help our young people learn. He's an educator, and an educator in many ways, and believes in the whole aspect of giving forward and thinking about the responsibility that we have, the impact of our actions on the earth, and being able to share that with others, and our responsibility to share our learnings and our knowledge with others. He's a fascinating man, and this was a delightful conversation, and his stories were just divine. We could have kept talking a lot longer, and it really is a beautiful way to look at the whole notion of connection and continuous learning. So sit back and enjoy this wonderful conversation with Benjamin Burg. Here we are, and welcome. It's another episode of the Six Star Business Podcast, and I am your host, Aveline Clark, and my co-host today is Corey Sebest from Germany. How are you, Corey?
Wonderful. Happy to be back again.
Lovely to have you again. I'm excited about this one. Our guest is Benjamin Burg. How are you, Benjamin?
Hello. Thank you, Evelina and Corey, for inviting me. This is a wonderful opportunity to share my stories. Looking forward to contributing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're excited to learn more about you, and let's get this started. I always like to ask our guests a few questions so that we can get to know you a bit better. Would you let us into your world a little bit and tell us, I guess, who you serve and how you serve them? And don't forget, where are you in the world as well? There's lots of color. There's lots of color around you, and it doesn't look like downtown Australia where I am. Let me tell you. So.
Well, actually, I guess in this funny world, in the virtual world, we could practically be anywhere, especially if you're in somebody's house, which you are in my little house. We like to call this house the gingerbread house. It's a little 100-year-old wooden house built just outside of Warsaw, in a town called Otwock. At the time when the town was established about 100 years ago, it was actually, it was a spa town. It was a place, they built a little train line. It was near the forest outside of Warsaw, and people were coming here for holidays and to get away from the smelly, dirty city. A lot of hospitals were built in this area, treating, interestingly enough, tuberculosis at that time. So we absolutely love it out here. It's about 30 minutes away from the city of Warsaw, and that's where I'm
So
at.
you're in Poland.
I
Yeah.
am in Poland, yes. And you asked what I do. Who am I? I'm Benjamin Burg. I am originally from the United States. I've been living in Poland now for oh, almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years this November. I've seen an incredible amount of change. The country has evolved miraculously. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I love living here. And I've been fortunate to be able to, as you said, serve people in a variety of different areas. Generally, I like to do sales. I love technology. I like to bring those new opportunities to people. But my core has always been education and social awareness building. I think that they got started back when I was working for Greenpeace back in the late 80s, before most people even knew what climate change or global warming was. So I saw myself as a social awareness building and an educator. And as I was knocking on doors raising money for Greenpeace sales, I kind of felt that, maybe my role is in education. So I went back to school. I got a master's degree in education. And I always remembered the director of the graduate school said if you really want to engage the kids, you got to sell them. What's in it for them? And I love those words, and I've been carrying that message or that approach towards how to get people involved, with what's in it for them. What's the benefit of getting involved with social issues? So I've been working with kids. I've been a teacher in Poland for 10 years. I teach mostly middle school and high school kids. I've been teaching them history and ecology, or more kind of like earth science. And I've been, for up until before COVID, I was doing wonderful trips to the United States and bringing Americans to Poland in an incredible exchange. And over the last couple of years, as all of us have, been looking at how to adapt to our new world and find new values and ways to be able to provide that value.
Wow. Where to start? There's a lot there, right? So you mentioned Greenpeace many years ago. So it sounds like you've been on the social awareness. This has been part of your DNA and your makeup for a long time, or a good part of your adult life. Can you share with us a bit of your journey that's brought you to the place that you are now in this holistic kind of teaching space that you're in around children, the ecology, the environment? Because that's what it sounds like to me. You're very passionate.
Yeah, well, I think like I have an awful lot of different things to say and 100 different types of stories that I could share with you, as to like what inspired me, what got me into this social responsibility education. I've been blessed with many great teachers. I really have. But I have one teacher who is kind of comes out as a surprise for most people, and it's my sister Bethany. My oldest. I was the oldest in my family. The next youngest in the line of six children was Bethy. She was born with special disabilities or special gifts. Most of the world saw them as disabilities, as handicaps. She was, we would label a word called retarded, and she was anything but retarded. And it took it was, she was a really, really big impact. I always would look at her and and was questioning, like, why is she different than others? Why? And I kind of like, it helped me to become sort of like open-minded, like that there are other ways to read a book besides just what you first see. And I remember one particular moment when she was an elder. We were all kind of old. We were all in college and high school, and we were seldom together. And my sister Bethy was home, and we had a big pizza, and we had finished eating pizza. And as you know, adolescents, teenagers, college students do. Once pizza's finished, you go off and you do your different things. And we all left the table, and Bethy was alone, and she got kind of upset. And we were trying to put her to bed, and she was reluctant towards that. And then something clicked in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I understand. We're not home often. This was a special moment. We just left you alone at this table. And in fact, I think, Bethy, even though your vocabulary is very small, you probably understand every single word we say. You comprehend it perfectly. And then she started to cry. And she grabbed me and was hugging me and crying. And, at that moment right there, I knew, like, wow. I mean, it was such an important moment, because I looked at animals, I looked at nature, I looked at everything that was alive, and realized that, like, just because its role might be different than ours doesn't mean that it's missing intellect, it's missing compassion, it's missing understanding. We are all connected. And that's just kind of like what drove me to, like, want to bring the world closer together and find all of the value that each and every one of us offers.
Benjamin, probably you want to share how you actually end up in living in Poland while you have been born in the US. So there's a very fascinating story to that. which I would say is a kind of a cosmic constellation behind it. Yeah. So maybe you want to reveal that to the audience here.
Of course, of course. A lot. I get asked this question often, like, what brought me to Poland? And I have an incredible story. So since this is a good setting for it, I will tell the full version without going too unraveling too much of it. But the reality is that this story goes all the way back to my birth. When I was born, for reasons that people don't always understand, but parents separate, and my parents separated, and I went and lived with my father. He quickly remarried. Uh, he had eventually five other children with Barbara, my mom. She raised me as my mom. I mean, it was a big, giant, happy family. There was me, there was Bethany, and then four other crazy kids. My mom was, incredible. She basically had two babies on her hand all the time. And I went to college. I was at the University of Pennsylvania. And while I was in college, one day I get a phone call, and it's a woman on the phone saying, Ben, a long time ago, your father and I were friends. I'd like to meet with you. And I was a bit confused. I called up my dad, and I'd actually asked her name. Her name was Elaine. And I said, Dad, who is my original mother? And he goes, Elaine. I'm like, oh my God, Dad, you won't believe this. Elaine is in uh, uh, the dormitory of where I was staying in college. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I want to meet her, but why don't we meet her tomorrow? So together, the two of us met her. And this is where I'll start going into a longer story. We ended up becoming friends, Elaine and I. And after I had graduated from college and graduate school, it was tough finding a teaching job. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a history teacher. And at that time, it sort of felt like all of the baby boomers had these history teaching jobs. They weren't retiring. The last job I applied for, apparently there were like 100 people applying for this one position. I didn't get it. But I had just met with I just established this relationship with my mother. My father had invited me on a trip to Israel. Uh, and it was on that trip that I realized, like, oh my gosh, I got to explore the world. Like, being a tourist isn't enough. I want to know what it's like to wash my clothes, to go shopping in a different country. So as soon as I flew back to the United States on this 3-week trip, I applied for the United States Peace Corps. I probably spent more time on this application than I have spent on any application in my life. And I hand delivered it to them, and they had a nominating process. So they nominated me for a French speaking country in Africa. Um, I had taken a few years of French in high school. Didn't speak French very well, but I was like, okay, maybe this will be a chance for me to finally learn French. So I was okay with that. And then my mom, Elaine, my natural mother, Elaine, calls me up and says, Benjamin, your grandfather, whom you just met recently, his his wife, who was alive and was married, he was married to your natural grandmother, died before you were even born. Your grandfather remarried, and his wife, she's got cancer, and she's dying, and she remembers you. 20, this was like 20 years. Now it's like 25 at that time. So 25 years earlier, she remembers you, and she would really like to see you before she dies. She's in good shape. She's not in the hospital, but it's terminal. And would you mind coming out to Cleveland to meet her? And I was like, yeah, sure, would love to. So drive out to Cleveland, and I meet with my grandfather, who was a jeweler, and he showed me his little jewelry room. And I met with my grandmother, and I discovered on that trip that they were both from Poland. That my grandfather was a Yiddish man from Białystok, and his wife Rena was born in Krakow and was a survivor of the Holocaust. She really was. She had the tattoo on her wrist, as you've seen in all of those photos. She was a lovely lady. I had a beautiful. She made me that like typical kind of Jewish breakfast with lox and bagels and grapefruit sliced in half, and we had a wonderful time. And I drove back to Philadelphia, and at this point, my application was like looking really good. right? I had to have references, medical exams. They had a whole series of things that I had to do. This was all pre-internet, of course, so there wasn't any web page for me to check off the list to see where my application was. So I called them up and asked, like, how is my application? Is everything in? And they said, yeah, we've got everything. You look great. We're going to accept you. You're going to Nigeria or Poland. And Poland just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, wow. And not only that, I just found out that my family comes from Poland. So I, being an open-minded person, like I really was, I was like, okay, thank you. Hung up the phone. I went straight to an atlas. We didn't have the internet back then, so giant book. I look up where is Nigeria, smack in the middle of the Sahara Desert. I then look where is Poland, smack right in the middle of Central Europe. And then I just start to think, like, I could spend 2 years learning about my students' heritage, or I could, you know, or I could spend 2 years learning about my heritage. And um, I called the Peace Corps back the next day, and I said, look, if I had a choice, if it was my choice, I would choose Poland. And they said, okay, we're sending you to Poland. And that's how I got to Poland. And the interesting thing is even how I like met my wife is quite interesting as well, because when I was at Penn and I had just finished a year at Greenpeace, I had discovered Gaia, the Living Earth, and I read James Lovelock's book, Gaia, the Living Earth. I made a whole report about it. I made a presentation in front of 50 students. And when I come to Poland in 1992, and I find out that there's an environmental club or an environmental organization called Club Gaia, I'm like, wow, they know about Gaia. I, I'm an enthusiastic person, so you can imagine what I was like at 26, practically jumping out of my seat. So Peace Corps assigned me to Club Gaia. And that was where I met my wife. And interestingly enough, my wife comes from the town of Oświęcim, which is the Polish name for the town of Auschwitz. And her sister is a guide at the museum, and it's a so there is sort of like a kind of spiritual circle there of some nature, and I'm happy to be part of this journey.
Benjamin, I got tingles when you shared that. There's something very special and magical about just from what you've said about your journey. And those of us who understand that we don't really control our lives, we control how we respond to them and to life and how we show up and what we choose to take on the journey, knows that, well, I believe that, it's all interrelated, like you said. I mean, what are the chances of them having this position in Poland? All the steps along the way, and no wonder you were jumping out of your skin when you got there, and landed in Club Gaia. My gosh, that's just brilliant. So it feels to me like you're I don't know, not just a student of Gaia, of life, but an active, plugged in participant.
Well, actually, somewhere, people ask you to like write little mission statements or stuff like that. And there was one moment and I really resonate very strongly with this. I feel like I am constantly trying to learn something new about the living earth. Like I see that the earth is alive. I look for those patterns constantly. And then I want to share it. So like, what fun is it just to learn? Let's go share what I learned with somebody else. So that is definitely something I've learned about the living earth and share it with others.
How do you see the shifting values in the sense of learning about the living earth and share it, whereby you are living or we are living in a society which is pretty much into materialism. Yeah, everything is aimed to make more money, have a bigger car, a bigger house, where social values are fading away. And I have to say, luckily, COVID reminded us how important it is to have social relationships. Yeah. and appreciate each other, and being there for communities because they're there for you when you feel lonely. So how do you are able to communicate it, and what type of irritation are you facing in today's youth? Because mainly you are teaching those guys, right?
Mm. Well, it's a great question, and the way I look at it is like one thing. Like we all know this world is can be incredibly frustrating. We see incredible amounts of destruction, and I was working with Greenpeace, and and I wasn't the one, you know, out on the boats trying to save whales or sail in front of the French nuclear testing sites. I was out canvassing, you know, knocking on doors, raising money, and explaining the importance of it. So at a very early age, I started to like hear, and was confronted with people like myself who were, in fact, we were driving cars to go and knock on these doors, and we all were at these early Greenpeaces. We were well aware of the contradictions that were happening. And I just, actually, I became very good at, as we said, canvassing Republicans. I could raise money from conservatives, and what my approach was what's the benefit? Like we can't blame ourselves for the circumstances that we're in. We are in nature. We are animals. We are part. I mean, we are part of nature. We respond to stimuli very quickly. If I were to take a nice cake and show it to you, if we were especially in the same room, our attention would immediately be diverted to that. Um, it's just nature. If smells, sights, these types of sensations affect us. So, and again, like where we respond, we know intuitively that money brings us food. Those things that make things good. If I'm sure somewhere on my screen I could even, well, that's on Zoom. I could make some little money signs flash up, little dollar signs. And again, we would be immediately distracted by it because we understand the symbolism of that dollar sign and what that means in nature. It means food, it means comfort, it means entertainment, it means satisfying all of these, natural desires that are necessity for survival. It's just that what has ended up happening, I think, over is we have gotten, you know, we have created money. It makes it easy to collect it and hoard it. In nature, if I kill 20 zebras, I can only eat one, and the other 19 go bad. And when I eat them, my stomach feels really horrible for a few days. So we quickly discovered like hoarding a bunch of dead meat isn't really a good idea. We just need a little bit of it at a time. And with money, it stays good. The meat stays good for as long as you want. And so then again, it's natural. Like, okay, I'm going to hoard it up together. I'm going to keep as much of it as I can. It's security. So I think what eventually is going to happen is we have to start, and I think it's happening now, is start to change some of the rules that we play, the value sets in those rules. Um, One thing that I keep thinking over and over again is the power of education. If like the wars that are being fought just across the street, practically, in Ukraine. And that's just that we all feel it closely because they sing Christmas songs that we all are familiar with, right? They're practicing a similar religion, so they're a similar culture. We sing Christmas songs. We will whereas people from other parts of the world, well, they sing different celebratory songs. So it's harder for us to resonate. We don't feel as closely. It's okay. It's natural. Like, and again, as my role has been to try, not my role, my ideology is to try and like find ways to make these things feel more natural. So because we now have this internet, we can, I'm meeting with you, Evelina. You're halfway across the world. I've got Corey. Hopefully this message will be shared with people around the globe quite quickly, actually, compared to what we could have done 30 years ago. Um, and maybe then, as this influences these stimulus that we have, we'll slowly start to people see that, look, oh wow, there is value in eating food from Iraq. Tastes good. Food from Iraq tastes good. If Arab food tastes good, if Chinese food tastes good, if Australian food tastes good, well then, well, the cooks must be good people because it tastes good. Well, maybe we shouldn't kill the cook.
But so, how do you see a mission? Because we talked earlier to that, and you have been running a lot of projects which literally slowed down due to COVID. Yeah, and there's a big mission you are literally yearning and hunting for. So, what would be for you the ideal situation that you can go back to full speed on trips beyond the classroom? Yeah, which you're doing with your company.
All right. Well, we are actually we're working all the time. I test things constantly to see which stuff stick and which don't. Um, I've had a couple of very, successful online lessons with both Ukrainian students, which I've called an open house for peace and understanding. Just an opportunity for students from around the world to come together. We have guest speakers that from very different backgrounds. We had a shaman. We've Next week we've got a early social philanthropist and who's been working on U.S. government projects, international aid, and is going to be giving a talk about um, some of her experiences in the early times of creating uh, startups for the local communities and the challenges that she's been facing with that, and sharing that with our students. Um, the other thing that I've just gotten started with is a gardening project using gardening as for education. We've just signed or not signed. We were cooperating with a Seed International's program that is encouraging new schools to start up and educate, to start their own garden. So we are working really hard. I got 6 volunteers, wonderful volunteers in Warsaw. We're taking them out for dinner next week. We had a great event with some students or from children from a foster home that were also hosting Ukrainian refugees. Uh, we had 70 kids playing frisbee golf with hula hoops uh, for 4 hours 2 Saturdays ago. And my volunteers, 2 from Ukraine, 1 from Iran, 1 from Kazakhstan, and 1 from Poland, and 1 from Russia. And it was just amazing. And they were fantastic. So we know that, like, getting college, post college, high school students together, helping kids with, who have less resources that and help them to feel a part of this. Fantastic. Now we're going to try and focus in on growing food. There's so much that you can learn with growing food. All of your academic subjects are covered just simply in gardening. We have a wealth of activities that go for all 4 seasons. So we're really excited about. And then on top of that, we want to link the computer world into it. So I've just discovered Discord, and we want to build a community where kids can upload their pictures of the farm, show little videos. We can compare and contrast, get excited about our accomplishments, and even throw in some digital gamified games like, a digital plant that will grow, because that's cool too. Um, we all like to see our watches, show us the globe when we've made enough steps to cross the Sahara or something like that. Badges work, and they work when there's something physical and real, and we get this nice little stimula at night that shows, like, oh my gosh, I accomplished something too on that end. So that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Wow, that's so exciting. And I love how you're connecting humans to the planet, the earth, gardening, food, something that connects everybody. And you're using technology as well to bring people together no matter where they are. Is that right? They can be
That
anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we'll have physical schools or institutions
Mm.
that can join the program. We bring physical people to help them, to guide the process. We know that schools are overburdened. And they're like, so often I hear like, wow, that's a great idea, but we only have 24 hours in the day. And on top of that, the state is requiring us to meet, a whole huge checklist of needs and demands from the state. So we want to ease that, create, bring in this support to say like we'll take care of so much of that extra effort. We just need your enthusiasm and your students. We want to bring in stewardship so that the kids themselves design the space. They decide what vegetables we give them. Like these are the vegetables that can grow. Maybe some of these won't. We can learn which some vegetables grow better than others. Our goal is to teach critical thinking, to teach self leadership, teamwork, and digital fluency. And we think that if we can hit those four things, if we can really get people to learn how to analyze, learn how to lead themselves rather than being led by others. Today's world, I got to wake myself up. I got to find the room with the right lighting. I'm not going to have a studio where we're going to always walk into and there's going to be somebody telling us where to go. So with self leadership, but we're not alone, so we got to collaborate. We got to do things together, learn our roles, what our different talents are, and then we got to do it in the real space. But in today's world, we got to learn how to communicate. What are the communication tools? What are the presentation tools? Again, it's natural. Particularly we respond to visuals very quickly. So a video is so much more powerful than just even writing words. So we have to know how to make those quick little videos. We need to know how to make those presentations.
Listening to you, also in the beginning, you mentioned you shared the story with your gifted sister and looking to the values you want to re-foster, re-nurture in young humans. And comparing to where we are today in our society, which are very materialistic driven, where actually what you are envisioning is a kind of a clash, a cultural clash going forward. What would you say about to what extent the school system today has to change? Yeah, and what is the desired outcome for that? Because despite of the fact that we're living in a century where nobody actually needs to starve, yeah, because we can produce like hell, and actually we are destroying food, yeah, due to profit maximization, and we have those abilities to communicate with everybody around the globe 24/7 and all the other things, all the leisure activities, but at the same time we have the highest level of depression, in particular in the Western countries, the highest rates of committed suicides among young people, especially after COVID. And so, what needs to change when we come to your sweet spot of education in the current school system?
All right. Well, I heard kind of two questions there. The first was, how do we get out of this materialistic kind of mass consumption world? And then what needs to change in our educational system? Uh, Maybe I'll start with the educational one first, because that might help inevitably the second one. I think in education, we are stuck in a system that used to work fairly well back when the Industrial Revolution was the value set. Um, this isn't my idea. I remember being at some startup conference and somebody had presented, the changing in value sets, and I loved it. It was like, at one point it was land during feudalism, right? If you had a lot of land, you could make farms. You had a big farm, you had power. So kings and kingdoms and queens, they were all trying to conquer land. The more land you had, the more power you had. Then the Industrial Revolution comes along, and let's just go back. With land, you had royalty, basically, and the royalty, through passage of blood, were the managers. Okay, we needed to have, you need to have somebody who's managing, and you need to have people working in the fields. Makes sense. Like not everybody can, you have to have somebody who's overlooking and understanding the bigger picture, and then there's got to be somebody out there actually digging up the potatoes, planting the seeds. I mean, that's real work. It really has to happen. So kings and queens, it was fine, kind of worked. And then the Industrial Revolution comes along, and all of a sudden now, uh, land isn't so much important as is people. I need people for my factories. We've got oil. Oil is fantastic, wonderful asset. Oil was like the internet, big time. And it was about mobility, just like the internet. We are mobile. I can be here. I can go take my thing outside. I can be at any cafe, and we can have this conversation. Oil gave us the same sense of mobility. You could package energy in a nice little barrel and take it down a train line or carry it by course, and you can build a giant city where there's no water, and build a city. You can build hospitals. You can build schools. I was even thinking about it just like yesterday, actually. I was like, we bitch about all this materialism stuff, but man, if I get into a car accident and I break my arm, there's going to be a helicopter that's going to rush me to a hospital and fix me up with all, I mean, and at that moment, who's complaining about all this materialism? When we give birth to a child and our mother is lying and there's all of these incredible gear ready to save her life and the child's life. This did not happen 200 years ago. Women were and children were at incredible risk every time we were giving birth. And now we can have children. There's like, I remember my mom I had 5 siblings come out, right? Never once was there a concern that mom might not come home. The baby might not come home. We all kind of knew that the child was coming home. So these are incredible things. So oil was fantastic. We could build cities, we could build colleges, we could build universities. And then with the Industrial Revolution, you have a royalty isn't going to work because you got all these factories. There's not enough royalty to go around. So we got to have an educational system that's going to allow us to have managers and allow us to have workers. And if you pass the test, right, you become a manager. If you fail the test, yeah, you can work in the factory, work for everybody. And that system kind of worked, you could say, kind of worked. And now people is no longer this value set. Data became the value set. And data is quickly moving into creativity. Like, I can do all kinds of stuff. Somebody's probably having a podcast like this right now somewhere around the world, probably on a very similar subject. This is not a unique subject matter. So in order, we can create so fast, so that the value set now is going to become creativity. And now this is where I fall into the schools. We have to change the schools. The schools were set up for the Industrial Revolution. It was fine. I mean, kind of fine. But now automation is taking over. We have the skills that you need to be successful in today's world are going to be the ability to think critically, to lead yourself, to work with others, and to be digitally fluent. And we need to have schools that are set up like that. Look at the offices. The greatest offices today, they're like these WeWorks. They have little workbenches. They have conference centers. That's the way our schools need to look like. We don't need to have little sets of classrooms anymore. We need to have workspace where kids can develop their skill sets, applications. Memorizing things is a pretty much from the past. I mean, there might be some core things that are nice to have, probably good to be able to really understand what the valves are and what consonants are rather than having to look it up. But, some core arithmetics you need to have. You don't want to be necessarily relating to a calculator to be able to do some basic arithmetic. But so much of everything is going to be like just application learning, getting out there and doing it in the real world. Now, that awareness building then is going to get us towards that first question, which was, how do we break away from this over materialism? And I think maybe part of it is going to have to come in a like a carrot stick manner, something that motivates us. And it might be, I don't know the answer. I'm just being provocative on this, but it might have something to do with cryptocurrencies. I do remember when I was selling picture tell video conferencing systems back in 2000. I was one of the first guys selling video conferencing systems, and there was a keynote speaker in Boston, and he said, "Service is replacing the product." Right? So at that point, he was like, "The letter is being replaced by email. The letter is the product, but email is the service. Like I can send one letter to 20 people simultaneously. I can add pictures to it. The resume gets replaced by LinkedIn. Right? The video call, he was trying to get to like the video conference is going to replace the meeting, which it has. Look at what we're doing right now. Um, and money. What is the service for money? I mean, like we can have certificates. Money is the product. And maybe these smart contracts and cryptocurrencies can become the service. And I saw a very interesting talk about this, where they were saying, what happens if we create two types of money? We have present money, which we have today, and then we have future money. But future money means money that you earn these future coins when you do things that are good for the future. And this might also kind of like get back to this living earth in the where in the Native American cultures there was something called the seventh generation. They had something called the children's fire. The children's fire was no decision can be made unless it's good for the children. So, okay, we want to do something. Will that be good for the children? Will that be good for our future generations? It has to pass the seventh generation test. Let's not do it. Oh, let's think, if we build that mine, we'll get a bunch of nice minerals. That's great. Our house will light up. But what about our children? We might have some problems. The drinking water might not be so good. And okay, maybe we need to think a little bit differently about how we build this mine, because we really want these precious minerals that we can use for light bulbs. It's fantastic, but we also don't want our children dying from cancer 20 years from now. So what if we created this sort of future tokens, future currency that you earned, and then when you went to college, you had to pay with present dollars and future dollars. So okay, the cost of college is $1,000 and 1,000 future dollars. Oh, I earned my 1,000 future dollars. Okay, you can go to college, for example. So there might be some. I mean, like that's just provocative thinking. There's a lot of questions and stuff like that, but I think that's kind of the direction that we're going to end up going, and I hope we do.
I don't find it's provocative at all. It makes so perfectly sense. This future crypto money, whatever it is, it's so logical.
Yeah.
It's so logical to just ensure and maintain actually what we used to do decades, centuries ago, the circular economy, yeah,
Right.
and which drifted apart a little bit from working together in a collaborative manner, going over to seeing everybody as a competition. Yeah, and then who's the best, who's the brightest, who's the biggest, whatever. Yeah, which also resulted due to profit maximization in pollution, air pollution, ocean pollution, unnecessary waste. Yeah, by buying cheap through China, and then articles and gadget you used to get to a shop to get it repaired, a toaster, whatever it is. Today it's just $15 and you just smash it, you throw it away and buy a new one. Yeah. So also valuing even the things, the value of the things also minimized. Yeah. And also the value of the human being within the ecosystem. Yeah. Has significantly shrinked. And what you just said is, I don't think it's that provocative, honestly.
Well, what I meant more is like to provoke questions, right? Because like um, it's not crazy. it's provocative, meaning like it provokes the like, oh, that's a good idea, but I got a lot of questions behind that. Like, how are we going to manage that? What does it actually mean? What things do you need to do to earn those future currencies? How do we measure that? I mean, that's what I meant by the provocativeness of it. Let's ask that. Oh, it sounds cool. Let's ask a bunch of questions and figure out how we can make it work.
I'm just listening to this, and what I'm picking up is this theme where I see that through education we've gotten to a place where we absolutely need to do. I don't know if it's a 180-degree turnaround or to get the hell out, because we've really dug ourselves into a big ditch. And in order to get out of that ditch, we need to bring people back to what you're talking about is the person, but also the planet. And to do that, we need to take responsibility for our actions. And even in this idea that you've proposed here, there's an element of that, because one has to think forward for the future. That's being responsible and being accountable for what I do today, knowing how that's going to impact tomorrow. Hence, this takes a whole mindset shift, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is what, where I might even start to get like I get frustrated with. And that is, in order to do this, we have to get, like, what roles have the value sets? What profession out there has the biggest impact on the future? I'll just throw that out as a question. Which profession do you think has the biggest impact on the future?
I'm going to dare to say politics.
Politics? Okay.
Or
Go ahead.
Science. I would say science, kind of.
I'm going to say teacher.
Teacher. True.
The teacher has an incredible impact. In fact, the teacher never gets to see the fruits of their work, of their labor, because it comes 30 years later. Right? It's I'm not going to know all the hard work, and this is one of the reasons why I think actually teachers don't get paid much. I mean, like, if the kid got a $100,000 job the next week, oh man, I'd be like, hey man, look, you got $100,000. You got to pay me a commission. I want 20,000 for that job. Oh yeah, okay, sure, no problem. I'll pay you 20,000. I got a $100,000 job. I'll pay you $20,000 for that. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Shake my hand. But that $100,000 job or whatever isn't going to happen for 20 years. So nobody's willing to pay the teacher that value set. But the teacher is the one who, out of all of the professions, has the enormous impact on the future. And what is the teacher paid? They're, a bartender. Yeah, a bartender can make more money than a teacher can. And yet the teacher knows how to use Excel. They have communication skills. They have leadership skills. They have conflict management skills. They have entertainment skills. They have organizational skills, presentation skills. That's an incredible skill set. And then the really, really good ones, the really great teachers, how often do you think they leave the profession? Eventually, or the managers, the directors of schools, how often are the really, really great ones going to leave? Because somebody's going to offer them a better job. And that job isn't affecting the future as much. It's about, can you sell more coffee?
Benjamin, you're so right. Just this morning, I listened to a podcast from Sadhguru, who has this Isha Foundation, so 1 million or even 5 million of volunteers. And it was a kind of a summit in India where he invited all the teachers across the state, across India. And it was a kind of praising the teachers, because they literally are, in fact, are building and nurturing the leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the right values. Yeah.
I mean,
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah.
I was always like to play this kind of imagination game. Imagine students, because like one thing that teachers have a lot of trouble with are students. They don't behave sometimes, and I understand it because they're forced to go to school. It is. That's like, I get that right away. Oh my God, I don't have to be at school. I can choose to go somewhere else. You go to college, I don't have to be in college. I choose to go to college. But when you're in high school, when you're in grade school, I mean, yeah, it's a great place to be, but guess what? You don't have a choice. Your parents are telling you, the state is telling you, it's the parents get into trouble if they don't send you to school. So you have to be there. Um, but just imagine if the teacher drives up to school in a Mercedes with $1,000 suit, dressed like a banker, dressed like a lawyer. Um, what kind of, what kind of respect are the students going to have to that individual night and day?
Respect and aspiration to follow his path.
And even
Yeah.
exactly, even aspirate. Oh my God, I want to be a teacher too. I can drive a Mercedes. I
Yes.
mean, I'm not saying the Mercedes should be the the carrot and the stick, but the point is, we look around and we see who's rewarded and who's not rewarded. You go on to commercials. You watch your favorite football team, your favorite basketball team, your favorite musicians. They're all driving. They've got nice clothes. I mean, it's not necessarily the right, like, it's not answering this question um, about how do we break away from this materialism thing. But even when we go all the way back, as far back in history, we are creatures of symbolisms, right? We want, like, symbols of our accomplishments. We wear the skin of the bear that fed our family. Um, we have the horns in our rooms that symbolize our accomplishments. I don't think there's really any. I'm wearing a nice shirt. I'm not just wearing a T-shirt. Something to that's attractive, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be attractive and resourceful. Resourceful is good. It means you have a full stomach and you can take care of children. Um, that's for the future as well.
Benjamin, where do you see is the greatest opportunity right now? I mean, we're talking about education and teachers, and you've taken my mind on this really interesting journey, and there's all this possibility. But in the world that we're in today, where I don't see our education system changing overnight, where's the opportunity then to tap into this gold mine of potential change?
You know what they say in Chinese, right? Crisis equals opportunity. So maybe it's the crisis that we have that is our opportunity. It's sad. I mean, it's like, I there was a moment when I started this open house for peace and understanding, and I found, basically, I got some Facebook posts that there were some Ukrainian refugees that were looking for work, and I had been to Ukraine many times. I knew that they were incredibly industrious, hardworking, talented people. So I was like, oh wow, that's a great idea. Maybe I hire a Ukrainian refugee, and she can or he can teach this online course, and then that way, this is what make a and this is this crazy little crisis equals opportunity, right? My brain clicks, and I said, that's a story. I can raise money that way. People will want to donate money that I give to a teacher who's been forced out of their home and is going to be teaching Ukrainians that can't leave their homes. So, like, I found myself being very opportunistic about somebody else's suffering. And and then I decided, like, I even tried to avoid the word of feeling up, like, I don't feel excited about this. I feel more honored. I feel blessed that I can share this, that I have the desire to want to connect these pieces together so that there is value, and we can offer something to the Ukrainian children that just simply want to keep practicing their English and not feel so isolated. And in a world where it's easy to give the hard money, like weapons and food, but people very often forget about the soft value, like just feeling connected and not alone. Um, but yeah, so that's basically, I think, the opportunity, unfortunately, is coming through our crisis that we have right now. We have to, and then as we feel the pain, the opportunity presents itself even more.
Yeah. Freedom comes through suffering.
In some
Because,
ways, it's
yeah,
it's very hard to, like, Like I said, we react. So it's, this, you know, though one of my great Native American teachers, Hemiastafis Storm, he broke up, he differentiated two very important words for me: discipline and conformity. Understand the difference between discipline and conformity. Discipline is freedom, self-control. Conformity is slavery, following blindly. And very often we are confused by that. Our youth are confused by that. They think that discipline is, don't discipline me, you're taking away my freedom. No, we're not taking away your freedom. It's in fact, we're giving you freedom, because if you can control yourself from running across the street and look both ways, you get to live another day. But if you blindly follow others without thinking, you can get drafted and sent to Ukraine and die. Understand those differences. Discipline is good. We need to learn, we need to embrace what it really means to control ourselves, and understand that it's very easily to be persuaded into conformity because it's popular, it's fashionable.
Wise words, buddy. Wise words.
Thank you.
Gosh, look at the time. For people that are listening to this podcast, and our listeners are a range, but mostly business owners, people who are interested in the stories, the journeys, and how we can make more impact in the world. What message would you leave them with in terms of what you've spoken about today and the opportunities, or anything else? What could you share with us to top off an amazing conversation?
What would be, tomorrow I'm going to tell the story of jumping mouse to a bunch of Ukrainian students. And I've been telling this story of jumping mouse for 30 years to various people. And just 2 weeks ago, I discovered a very important part to this story. Just without telling the story, it's about a mouse and his adventures and exploring new things that he didn't understand in the past. And part of that process, he goes blind. And I realized that you have to go blind to be able to really see. So maybe the closing statement is, we got to close our eyes for some time. Really close our eyes and imagine and visualize inside what it is that we want to see this world become. Because only then can you really begin to comprehend what it actually really means to do that. Otherwise, it's too easy to get distracted by something that looks beautiful just for a moment. So maybe that closing message would be, there's so much that we have to do. There's no simple answer out there. So let's close our eyes and imagine what we want. Not for long, for some period of time. And then open them up and see what happens. And of course, come visit me on my website. And I am a nonprofit, so we do need donations. We do need donations. That could be a step as well.
Wow, thank you, Benjamin. That was really powerful. I got, almost a little bit speechless there. That was really, really deep. And
Thank you. Well,
and I know that we're all unique, right? And if everybody was to do that, become blind for a few minutes, what they come up with is going to be different. And that therein lies the challenge. And to me, that therein lies the essence of our humanity, which is to find what's unique to us and then figure out a way how to make the future better.
I mean, there's a role for everybody. And again, if we close our eyes and like just what you just said, this like if we all come up with something different. Oh my God, that's chaos. It's crisis. That's opportunity. That's our opportunity. We have to, listen to the zillions of different ideas. There is no bad idea. There just might not be the right time for it. But we've got to hear it because it might trigger something else. And these are those, and these are the little tiny steps that enable us to then take a slightly bigger step, and then a slightly bigger step. We can knock over the Empire State Building in about 29 steps if you just knock over one thing that's 50% heavier. Do the math.
Wow. Corey, have you got any final any comments or questions for Benjamin?
Actually, just one remark. It's what Benjamin said with becoming blind for a while, which is literally disconnecting yourself from your current situation to enable yourself to drop all the fear, anxiety you're feeling and just give your dreams a go, which requires to be conscious, to become conscious about yourself, because only then creativity kicks in, which enables you to make up a vision. Yeah, a vision which becomes a mission. And what we try to do and what we will do, not try, we are doing it already with Six Star, is to transform a mission which starts little into a movement. Yeah, to gravitate enough like-minded people to have a kind of a critical mass. And what happens with a critical mass? It becomes unstoppable. And that unstoppable mass, yeah, a movement, is actually helping to do a mindset transformation rather than just a shift. Because a shift is you keep and stuck and stick to the values and you do some slight modification. A transformation is actually flip flopping values and questioning everything, what was meaningful today, how this is going to be meaningful for the future. And the answer is it's not. Then ideas like what you said with the future crypto, whatever, yeah, this is one of the potential solutions. Yeah, so that's my take on this for today. Thank you, Benjamin.
Corey, Evelyn, thank you too. I haven't had many opportunities to share that wealth of stories in one little setting. It's been a great joy. Um, you guys are on a great mission yourselves. This is what we need. We need people like us. And there's so many, everybody's out there, really.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone there's nothing special about us.
No.
It's just what we're doing, and everybody else is doing their thing, and they'll find their place in this beautiful community that we have.
Yeah.
You're right in the sense of it's basic stuff what we're doing, but our purpose is different. Our purpose goes beyond our own ego, yeah, and beyond everything else for the benefit of the population of all single human being, probably even animal, yeah, on and in the nature. So
I don't know.
that makes us unique.
I probably have an ego too, so it's in
Yeah.
there.
We all have. We all have.
Um, Thank you, Benjamin. We'll have the details of your website and nonprofit on the show notes. So if people
Yeah.
want to go and check you out and to donate, they can do that, and get in touch if they want to as well. I just want to thank you so much for everything that you're doing, and how you're showing up in the world, how you're serving, and you're just this ray of light. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, it's not just donations. Of course, if people are inspired and want to collaborate, that too. It's not only, it's effort. It's time is even sometimes one of the most valuable gifts that you can give.
Evelyn,
Totally.
I think we need to set up a kind of education program with Benjamin being the ambassador under the Sixth umbrella. I think we need to give it a thought, okay?
Thank you.
I
Let's
think we
do
need to
that.
do something. Yeah.
He likes to put me on the spot like that. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Corey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. It's been a joy.
Likewise. Very well.